at this point, my mom has now passed on. It's 2022, and I'm in we're on like the second half of junior year. So by this time, I'm applying to schools, and I'm applying to 18 schools. Yeah, I'm applying to 18 schools. I got into 13 out of the 18. I don't even remember which one said no. I think it was like Brown said no, Carnegie Mellon, BU, which I currently attend BU. So thanks for letting me back in, guys. Thanks for letting me back in. But they said no initially for theatrics and for the academic school, because what a lot of people don't know is when you apply to a performing arts program, it's basically like applying to that college twice, because it's an entirely separate Common App, like totally separate application. So really I applied to a lot more than 18 schools, but we can do that later. But yeah, it was a few schools that said no. I know those 3 for sure. I don't even remember what else. I think it was no, it don't matter. Anyway, so 13 schools I got into, and then I got waitlisted. So BU was one of my top 3. So I had top 3. It was BU, Harvard, and NYU. All of them, no, Harvard and NYU were waitlists. And, but I know for a fact that Harvard, fun fact, if you do not apply early decision or early action rather, because they don't even have early decision, they have early action, but restricted early action for Harvard. Most Ivies will do this, so that you cannot apply early action to other universities. But here's the catch. Most other universities or colleges do not make early action restrictive. So you can apply early action to as many as you want. But when it comes to Ivies, you can only apply early action if it's restrictive to that university. So I was gonna have to apply regular decision for every other university. I said I got 17 other institutions. I'm not doing regular for all of them. And so I was like, no, you're about to be regular decision, and I'm gonna do early action wherever else I want to. That's not restrictive. And so Ivies will get you, but they gave me an interview. So I literally went to Starbucks with this woman who was an alumnus, and she was so kind. She was a pathologist at one of these hospitals out here, and I was like, she's awesome. And I got to talk to her, give her some advice about her daughters and all this stuff. We just had a great conversation. I was like, there's no way they gave me this interview and they don't like me. Like, there's no way. I'm from Boston, I'm Nigerian, like there's all these things are going for me. And so when they waitlisted me, I was like, it's because y'all don't know if I'm gonna say yes. And I didn't. I fully was like, y'all don't even have a performance program. I would literally be just going for psychology. So I was like, I don't know if it's the best bang for my buck, just because it's Harvard. Sure, opens doors because I have that on my transcript, but I was like, I don't know if it's worth it. And then NYU was like waitlist, and at that point I really didn't want to go to NYU that much anymore because I didn't love Manhattan. Not gonna lie, I loved Brooklyn. Pace University was one of my other options, and I really loved Brooklyn. Love it over there. But Pace also, I was like, I can't double major. So I was like, and BU just said no. Just flat out no. And so, but the wild card came in one evening. I was literally at a violin concert at school, and I got the email, and it was like, congratulations, University of Southern California. And I was like, hello? And I was not expecting that. First of all, California. That was the furthest school I had applied to. Really just did it because my artistic counselor said, it's a wonderful theater program. It's LA. You're in the thick of it, and kind of makes sense for what you want to go into, which is film and TV. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. Like, I'll just give it a go just for fun, for, kicks and giggles. But I didn't think anything was actually going to come of it. And so fast forward to this moment, I was like, oh. So that immediately became my first. And everyone was like, you're gonna turn down like the Harvard waitlist. I was like, yeah, no. And so I didn't even look at the NYU and Harvard waitlist. I was just like, nah. Actually, wait, no. I said no to the NYU, and I did wait for Harvard, and they were like, we really like you. You should apply next year early. I was like, no. So they didn't let me in because I didn't apply early. But USC was like a wild card, and I was like, this is even better, honestly, because I can double major. I'm in LA, new experience, new people, new me. I was like trying to rebrand really, I thought of this as like a rebranding, a rebirth. This is a next chapter. We are moving on from high school, moving on from all the grief. We are locking into this new season. And so my dad was not thrilled, but he was like, I will support you in whatever you want to do. And at this point, he's like a single dad. But plot twist, about a year and a half after my mom passed away, so now we're in July of 2023, I'm about to leave for school in literally 3 weeks. My dad, we go to Cheesecake Factory, and he's like, so I found love again. I was like, okay. And immediately, you guys, I start bawling my eyes out. And I was like, right. All right. And I didn't know what to do with that. And he literally told my second edition mama, who they've been married for almost 2 years now, I think. Yeah, 2 years coming up in August. She responded to my response, and she was like, those were not tears of joy. He was like, yeah, she was so happy for us. She was like, no, she wasn't. Like, she's so discerning, like, oh my gosh, she's so prophetic, so discerning. She's a pastor, so she's my third pastor parent. And she just immediately knew, no, she's trying to put on a good face for you, but nah, she's struggling with this. And she was like, so has she talked to anybody professional? Like, has she been to therapy, like, after the loss of her mom? And he was like, no, she has people to love on her. When I tell you, every time we talk about that, she's like, that just blew my mind. She was like, okay, I have a lot of work to do. That's like, she was like, okay, it's time to lock in. So ever since she's come into my life, she gave me books that I refused to read. I didn't know they were from her. My dad called himself, before he told me he was in a relationship, he was like, oh, I got some of these books about, life after loss and, Christians who have been widowed and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I picked up some about Christian books and just regular books about losing your mom and like grief and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. Unbeknownst to me, they were actually from her, and she had bought them for me but gave them to him because I didn't know she existed. And so I put them in my little drawer. I said, thank you. Okay. I didn't want anything to do. I was suppressing, you guys. I was suppressing. I was like, grief is going to make me sad, and I'm trying to focus on Jesus. So me focusing on Jesus, literally, I thought was me trusting him, but really I was just fully avoiding my feelings. And it did not last long. Let me tell ya. That came back to bite me sevenfold. I was like, so this is why people talk about their feelings. Okay. Because I wasn't watching videos. I didn't want talking about her, but my dad was feeling all the feels, listening to worship music, sobbing, calling out to God, getting into his word. And I was also doing those things, like, few and far between, though. Like, not as consistently as I should have been. I wasn't fully surrendering it because I didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to think about it. So I was just like, focus on everything else. And which caused me to act outside of my normal behavior. I was testing the boundaries a little bit towards the end of high school and in college, in terms of like what I wore, who I hung out with, things I did. And my dad was like, okay, what you're not going to do is act like just because your mom has passed, the rules still don't apply. And I was like, wow. I remember when we had that conversation, it only took me doing those things like maybe like 3 good times before he was like, okay, pause. And let's rectify this. And so I really realized, like, I wasn't even intentionally trying to do that. I was just trying to feel good. And again, I was looking to the world to feel good, and it was not fulfilling. So all that to say, I'm about to go away to college, to USC, and now I know that he's got this love in his life, and I'm like, okay, perfect timing. On the bright side, at least he won't be alone, but also, like, I was just starting to get to know my dad for the first time on an intimate level, and it was kind of like, oh man, that kind of sucks that now that there's this other person that's really going to take up most of your time, like, you're in love, like, you're going to go through the honeymoon phase and all this stuff. And I was like, darn it, kind of like bittersweet, because glad that you're happy, but also like, now I'm not going to get as much time with you, and now I have to get to know this new person. Our family dynamic's going to be different. They're going to be living in our house, and the house that my mother used to live in. So it was a lot that I was just like, okay, we'll deal with that later. I'm going to LA. Like, I was like, let's focus on the good stuff. And get to LA, which I documented this. It was so funny. Like, it was a vibe. I was feeling like, oh, she's an LA girl. And it was fun initially. And then after that first month, I said, this for the birds. Okay? I was like, nah. Something to milk ain't clean. So my freshman year was definitely one for the books. It was the best and the worst time all at once. Let's get into it.